Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, and welcome to another review. And this is a big one, like a really big one. I hope this recording doesn't go on for too long. As you can see, I look absolutely fucking shattered. I have put my heart and my soul into getting this recording done and into getting the review done. And just to give you a little insight, we clocked the review in 15 days doing 107 hours. And I am shattered, absolutely shattered. And the reason I had to push a little bit harder is because Dragon's Dogma 2 is already here. I've had that for 2 days and I need to crack on with that review. And with Leon and the babe, it's been intense. It has. So Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, the part 2 section of the trilogy that they want to push out. We did part 1 when it came out a long time ago. That recording and that review should still be up and still be available for you guys to watch over on YouTube. So is it worth grabbing? Is it worth continuing this trilogy that Square Enix are planning on pushing out? Is it worth the money? Is it worth your time and the investment? That's the point of this review. This is my opinion, and only my opinion. Doesn't make it right, doesn't make it wrong, but I'd like to give you some insight. I would. So let's crack on. And the very first thing that we like to look into is, as always, the choice of music used. And this is one of its biggest strengths. I have to say, I was absolutely taken back. The soundtrack to Rebirth is absolutely fucking incredible. It truly is. There are a few songs that are a hit and miss, but overall, the soundtrack that they used was absolutely breathtaking. It was incredible. They used way more original songs from the retro version of Final Fantasy VII and gave them their own upbeat twists and turns. And it wasn't a miss in any way, shape, or form. The music just it works so incredibly well. And Square Enix, I have to fucking give you props. This was, in terms of the music, this was the better of the two, in my opinion. When it comes down to the effects and the voice acting, I cannot fault the game in any way, shape, or form. Just like part 1, the sounds in this game are absolutely on point. They sound absolutely brutal at times in such a great way, and especially if you're using a headset. I was actually trying to find my headset, but I put it over there. But I use a 5.1, a very good headset sound system, and the music, the sound effects, the magic effects, the explosions, and even the pinpoint perfect voice acting, it's just a massive positive for me. Yes, there were some cheesy characters. There was a lot of whining that just didn't sit right with me at times. But at the end of the day, the overall game is voiced incredibly well to the T. It really is done superbly. And I can't fault Square Enix around it whatsoever. I can't. The graphics, texturing, and weather effects. If you've already seen cutscenes of this game, or if you even played part 1, you will know that this game looks absolutely incredible. Like, I mean, flawless in so many ways. The Unreal Engine has yet again prevailed for a lot of companies. I think so many game developers and tech teams are now leaning towards the Unreal Engine because it looks absolutely amazing. All the characters look so fucking perfect. They look flawless. It's just incredible. The outside world and the terrain that you actually get to explore is beautiful. It is so gorgeous when you're running around the game. The effects of the magic, the effects and the looks of the summons, everything is just absolutely so well done. And again, I have to praise the absolute shit out of Square Enix. You have designed an absolutely incredible game. You really have. And the game clocks at 145 gig. So you need a good amount of space on your hard drive to have this bad boy installed, because it is a hefty game. And I really can't fault nothing. Yes, we had a few enemy glitches. The textures were a little bit skittish during combat. But when you look at the overall game, especially when you just take a seat and just sit there and watch the cutscenes between the characters and the story that's being played in front of you, it's absolutely gorgeous. It truly is. And it's without a fail a graphical masterpiece. It really is. And the PlayStation is clearly being pushed to its absolute limits. And if you find, because like a lot of other games, this game has the ability to trigger performance mode or graphical mode, so you can switch between which one you want to go for. And we always like to run it on performance mode, because I would rather have the frames per second to be the best that they can be and the highest that they can be, especially with fast-paced motion. But wow, just absolutely, wow. I no, I can't say it anymore. The game is gorgeous. It really is. The gameplay and mechanics. This is where a lot drops for me. And again, I'm gonna try my hardest to keep this brief but constructive. Final Fantasy VII, the retro version, is my favorite Final Fantasy game of all time. It is. 7, 9, 4. Sorry, 7, 9, and 6 are probably my top 3. But Final Fantasy VII was, in my opinion, perfect. It was the masterpiece of retro Final Fantasy games. And I said this during the review of the very first one. I know I scraped on this a few times, that remaking or remastering a game, it needs to be done with care. It really does. I don't mind them adding things to a remake. I really don't, because you're adding to the content itself. But it's about making sure it's done correctly. Do I feel Final Fantasy VII Rebirth has added content to the original game and done it correctly? In my opinion, no. I feel that they've missed the ball quite largely on this part. They've added so much filler, so much grind, so much unnecessary mini games, that it starts to become a boring chore at times throughout this game. Now, to give you an insight, and I'll do my very best to make it spoiler free, there are a lot of regions in this game that you get to explore, that you get to go around Cosmo Canyon, Nibelheim. You get to actually get out there and openly explore not only the terrain area like the original retro, but you also get to go into these big cities as well, and you get to do a lot inside those cities as well. So in every single region that you go to, it's the same formula in every single one of them. So you go out into the open world and you go activate some towers that are like a fucking ripoff of Zelda. These towers will scan the area and highlight key interest or key points around the map. You have special enemy fights that you have to do in every single region. You've also got quests that you've got in the city and quests outside the city that you can do. There is also chocobo searching as well, where you're looking for treasures in every single region. There are card games that have been introduced to this game that were never introduced into the original Final Fantasy VII. So this is an extra filler that they chucked in as well. And there's no deviation other than the enemies and the quests that you're doing. There's no real deviations. Activate the towers, kill the special mobs within the area, and if you're a completionist like me, you're gonna want to try and do everything, because a lot of the quest lines have affinity improvements on certain characters. And part 2 or Rebirth, you get to visit the Gold Saucer and you get to have your relationship moment with a certain special character that you really want to lovey-dovey with. And throughout the entire game, I was pushing and pushing and pushing to have a great relationship with Tifa. And when I finally got to that moment, thank God I saved prior, I fucking ended up having Red 13 knock on my bloody door. And that really pissed me off because I did fuck all with him in combat, and it seemed that just because I pushed his quest lines forward, that raised his relationship status with Cloud higher than Tifa. So luckily I managed to reload, go out and do quite a few more quest lines with Tifa to push her up. And yes, we managed to score with Tifa. But off subject, every single area, like I said, you have to do the same shit. You do. It's always the same. Activate the towers, do the Chocobo treasure hunting, do the special enemy fights, which you have to do more than once, by the way, and probably a lot more than twice as well, especially if you're aiming to achieve all the criteria within those special fights. But you also have them as training missions as well, which unlock free materia that you can then use later on. But there's a lot going in for this game. The card game as well. The card game is such a fucking headache because you know the computer can blatantly fucking cheat. It's not like the Final Fantasy VIII and Final Fantasy IX card games, and those card games were really, really, really good. This card game, the opposition and you get around 15 cards, so it's a lot bigger of a game itself, and you don't know what the enemy cards are played because they're all turned the other way, so you have no idea what they're playing. And you know they blatantly cheat. You know they blatantly do. But we did a massive amount of them, to the point where we were close to ending the quest line of the card game. But I had to get this story finished and the review finished, so we stopped playing the card game to continue with what we were trying to achieve. If you can look past the repetition in this game, or whether or not you just completely ignore that part of the game and just focus solely on the story. The story is where I have the biggest problems with, because they change way too much. Way too much. And they add way too much that doesn't make any sense to this story. And I didn't really struggle with the original retro version of Final Fantasy VII. I was able to play that game multiple times and I was able to follow it and be absolutely fine. You know, this game throws turns, twists, fucking buckets at you, to be fair, and it completely throws you off the scent of what's going on. And there were way too many times throughout the game where I was completely lost. I had no idea what was going on. I had no clue whatsoever. And I can't really say too much because it will lead down to spoilers. But there are characters that are pushed into the story that were never in the original game. And there were also... I'm trying to be careful. Results in certain parts of the game that were never also in the original. It's just they changed way too much. And... to be fair, if they would have just stuck to the original story script and just added just a little bit more, it would have been better. It would have been a lot better because there was way too much confusion in this game. And even a lot of people in my chat at the time, they were like, what? They had no idea what was going on. And probably Square Enix at the time were on fucking Wii or something, because they probably didn't know what was going on as well. I want to say it, but I don't want to fucking say it because if you played part one, I mean, part one's been up for a very, very long time. And if you haven't played that yet, or if, you know, you want to play it, but you just haven't had the time, you're falling behind. But they open up this whole, and I'm being careful with my choice of words. At the end of number one, they open up the possibility of cross dimensions, parallel universes, parallel worlds, and them intertwining with each other. It's like a fucked up version of Marvel. and Marvel universes with the characters coming into different. It really fucking is, and I did read on a Reddit as well because I really wanted to be clued in with what was going on. They introduced characters into this game that are a part of other Final Fantasy games, and if you haven't played those other Final Fantasy games, you're not gonna have a fucking clue what's going on with them being in this game. And it just throws you through goddamn hoops, left, right, and center. And I think that's its biggest weakness in this game. That they expect you to know what's going on, who these characters are, what they're doing there in the first place, why are they there, and who the fuck cares? Because I didn't care about some of these characters. I really didn't. I didn't care what they were doing or why they were doing it. All I cared about was playing through the story and enjoying the story to its originality, if that makes sense. Sorry if I hit the microphone. I wanted to play the game and experience the game for what it was. And this didn't do a lot of that for me. Yes, all of the big key moments are definitely the same. But they also changed some of the outcomes and the twists and the turns, and they've changed. And I'm sorry, but I was left doing, what, throughout a lot of this game. 107 hours of, that's what the game is. I'm guessing what they're trying to do is leave all the biggest answers to everything that's happened in part 1 and part 2 to part 3. To sell, to build up the hype, to build up the to get everyone excited to wanting to go out and spend money. And just before we fucking, hammer the coffin closed, the base game to this is £70, which is an expensive game. It really, really, really is. And I'm able to go out and get the physical copy for £10 less, like I usually am from Shop 2 or Simply Games. And the Sephiroth edition of this game, where you get a beautiful statue that I've seen, is around £350 fucking pound. It's just Jesus Christ. But I'm getting sidetracked. If we look at the gameplay and the mechanics, they're almost identical to part 1. And if you're interested in turn-based RPG, you're not gonna like this one bit. If you want turn-based, you're not getting it anymore. It's as simple as Square Enix have completely fucking moved on. The action is seriously quick, seriously fast-paced, and you will be switching on the fly between character during the combats itself, especially during the hard fights. You'll be getting characters to throw up magic one place, healing one place, summoning one place, and it's all about being this game is all about being aggressive in combat. It truly is. You can't just sit back and expect your ATB bar to fill up, because if your ATB bar doesn't fill up, you can't use items, you can't use summons, you can't use magic, you can't do fuck all. You have to build that bar up by being a part of that fight, and if you need to heal because you're about to die but you have no ATB, you're fucked. Unless you have a materia that allows you to use items for free without the ATB bar being used, but even that has a replenish counter on it, so you can't use it all the time. So you really do need to be a strategist in this game and make sure that you know when to push into the fight and when to back off and try to heal and keep your team safe and protected, because it's really down to you 95% of the time. You can equip your team with materia that allows them to use their abilities and to also allow them to use their weapon arts, which is nice and all, instead of them standing there doing absolute fucking nothing. You can also equip them with auto materia as well. If you pair it up with, let's say, healing, the characters will heal themselves. If you pair it up with revive, they'll revive anyone that gets knocked. So as you progress through the game and acquire these materials, your companions become more and more useful at that point, because they're being given materia that tells them what to do. It's dumb, to be completely fair. It's a silly concept, but that's just the approach that they went with this game. You have to give them that material so they can then use their brain. And they can use their brain. The card game, as I said, the Blood Queen, it's very, very, very different from any of the other card games that they've ever utilized. Good luck learning the mechanics of the game. It took me quite a while to master it, and it took me quite a while to reach the higher ranks in the card game system. I didn't care for it much. I really didn't care for it that much, to be fair. I preferred the other card systems that were in the other Final Fantasy games. The Gold Saucer is a big pinnacle point in part 2. It really is, because you're introduced to a lot of other characters around that part of the story, and you also got to play in a lot of the mini games that took part in the Gold Saucer, and they are fun. I'm not gonna lie. They are definitely fun, and I think that's where the mini games should have been kept in Gold Saucer, but they don't do that. They don't do that. When you're playing this game, they turn nearly everything into a fucking mini game, and it just stretches out the game. It stretches out the time that you need to do to put into it, and it's just, there's more than one. There's always more than one. A lot of the missions that are out in the open world, they're like 3-4 missions each. So again, this is a massive grind fest. You're going to be committed to this game. Good luck, unless you just don't give a shit about anything but the story. But then the game will get harder for you, because you're not grinding for levels, you're not grinding for items, and you're not grinding for materia. And as I said, there is this game throws materia at you so easily. Doing all of the training missions and all of the virtual missions, they'll grant you so much materia, and you can't actually acquire any summons through finding them out in the open world, which honest to God, I miss that shit, you know? I miss running around in the open world and actually hunting down a summon. You acquire the summons here through training missions, and you have to earn their trust in a way. You have to unlock shrines to weaken them, because if you fight them head on, they're at their highest level, so you have to run around in the open world, find the shrines that match the summon, do a mini game to weaken that summon, and if you weaken them 3 times, you'll get them at their lowest possible state in the VR mission that you train with them. And again, it's just this grind, same missions over and over and over again, and it's just a massive time consumption. It truly is. Replayability and game difficulty, there's a massive amount of replayability in this game. Even after you've completed the game gives you the ability to go back through certain chapters and hopefully complete some of the side missions that you've missed, and acquire any additional items that you've missed as well. So the replayability in this game is absolutely massive. If I've clocked 107 hours and I've missed a few of the small side quests, I did the majority of everything out in the field. I 100%ed most of the regions as well. You're looking at maybe 120, 30, maybe 150 hours easily in this game, with the crafting aspect as well, where you can go around and look for items so you can craft the best bangles, the best items, the best accessories. Good luck with all of it. Good luck, because it is a time sinker for sure. So the replayability is 100% there. In terms of the game difficulty, we played the game on normal mode, though extra difficulties and extra difficulties are available once you get to that state and that point within the game itself. I have no interest in playing hard mode, and I have no interest in playing any of the mini games in hard mode as well, which you unlock once you've completed those mini games. You can then redo it again in a harder difficulty, because why the fuck not? Any game customization and stats building. Character customization is not really an option in this game. There are costumes that you can unlock for certain characters that you can equip at a certain point, especially on the beach line, if you want Tifa or Aerith running around in very revealing, saucy stuff. I'm not going to lie. And you also get certain items later in the game as well that allow you to change the cosmetic of certain characters. But you know, you can't customize them willy-nilly when you want to. That's just not a thing. Stats building in this game, it is a Final Fantasy RPG. So in terms of stats, what you're looking at is pretty much leveling up your character to push all the base stats up for said character as well, including unlocking more points that you can put into their weapon tree, their ability tree. You can grind obviously to maximize your magic as well, and you can grind to unlock all of the weapon arts, because that's something I loved doing. I liked finding a new weapon, mastering that weapon art, and then going to another weapon and so forth and so forth, because I wanted all of it. I'm a bit of a greedy bitch. I wanted absolutely anything and everything. I did. That's just me. I don't regret it, but my body does. It really, really, really does. Story, if applicable, we've already talked a bit, maybe a bit too much, but I've already highlighted the story aspect of it. So I'm not going to add to it anymore. I'm not. I could go on and on and on and on, but I don't want this video to be absolutely like an hour long. Online co-op modes, features and stability, there's nothing for me to talk about in any part of that whatsoever. Purchase price versus digital price and value of content, I've already hit that subject, so I don't even have to talk about that. So what I'm going to do is add just a little bit more context to a lot of the categories that I've already hit, because I have quite a bit written down. I've got to say that they've definitely taken a lot from other games for this part 2. As I've already mentioned, the shrine scanning and the area field and whatnot, that is very Breath of the Wild, like very, very, very Breath of the Wild. Didn't need to be in this game, if you want my honest fucking opinion, but it is in this game. The Chocobo racing was extremely fun, but it's stupidly easy if you are a Mario Kart lover. If you've played Mario Kart in the last 5 years and you've mastered the drifting system in that game, you are going to master the Chocobo racing in this game, because you can drift Chocobo around the races and they get turbo boosts and shit like that through drifting, which is a complete goddamn ripoff of Mario Kart. It really, really is. Though there are other racing games like Sonic All-Star Racing and stuff like that that use the same drifting system and the same drifting mechanics. Like I said, it's fun. It's fun. The music, piano playing is a great little addition to this game. It wasn't a massively long mini game, so I was happy doing it, but it was very, very, very difficult to focus on 2 grids at the exact same time. And because it's there were many sections within that grid that played the music notes, and you just had to point the analogs in the right direction, and my brain was trying to fucking focus on both of them at the same time, and unlock all the rewards, which you had to get to A rank in all the songs to unlock all said rewards. I couldn't do it. I had to get Panda to hold the left analog and do the left side while I done the right side, and we absolutely aced it. So I would recommend that to absolutely everyone. If you struggle with the music section of this game, get a friend or a brother or sister to do one analog and you do the other, and you'll absolutely masterpiece it. It's so easy from that point. You may have to actually turn the music down or even mute the music, because sometimes the background ambient music that's going on in the game and the additional notes that the character is playing that don't have nothing to do with what you're doing throw you off completely, like massively throw you off. And I guess they did that for a reason. I was very, very, very disappointed, and this is a very controversial thing as well. This is one of the biggest Reddit discussions, is that if you did indeed play part 1, if you collected all that materia in part 1, all those items in part 1, and most importantly weapons and accessories, what happened to all that loot when you play part 2 for the first time and you lose it all? And there are some people that are like, oh, I'm absolutely fine with that. I can understand why they did that for balancing issues and stuff like that. And there are other people that are like, fucking wasted all my time grinding for all that shit for it to be irrelevant in the second game. So I can actually understand both sides of the argument. I really could. I don't know why. Well, balancing issues could be an actual key thing, but they could always tweak stuff to make it to make it work. But if you plan on playing part 1 and part 2, do not worry too much about grinding 100% of everything and looking for absolutely everything if you feel that that shit's going to carry into part 2, because it's not. It's not. You're going to lose it all. You're going to start bare bone fresh all over again. So, again, I can see both sides of the argument. I completely can. I just wish I did get some of the stuff I worked my ass for in part 1, because that was the whole point in me working my ass off in that game. To have something to carry over into part 2, into the second game, to say, hey, look what I did. I did all that shit. So overall, what does it boil down to? Would I recommend this game? Should you go out and buy it? 47 out of 61 trophies on my first playthrough, 107 hours, and it took me 15 days to clock it. The fucking aggro system is still dog shit in this game. I'm sorry, I know I complained about this in part 1 and in the review, and I'm gonna fucking complain about it again. The aggro system in this series, part 1 and part 2, is absolute cocky dog shit. The way that the system works, and we highlighted this very, very obviously during a fight with Sephiroth, is that whoever you're taking control of, that's who gets the aggro. The other characters will get the aggro from time to time, but you will actually see NPCs and bosses turn as you switch character to whoever you're selecting. So if you're switching to a character to do a spell to heal someone or to throw an item out on someone, you need to be careful, because the minute you switch to that character, the aggro switches as well. And it may completely fuck you up. Like really, 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 really badly. So be very, very careful with that. I hate the aggro system in this game, and I wish it was different. I do. I wish the aggro was completely randomized. Completely randomized. And the fact that they call Quake materia petrify, that irritates me. I'm sorry. I know that's a little nitty gritty thing, but that fucking irritates the shit out of me. It really, really, really does. So what it boils down to is, like I said, would I recommend that you run out and grab this game, and what would I rate it? So the very first thing is, would I recommend that you run out and go grab this game? If you are a really, really, really big fan of the original Retro, and you don't like the idea of change, and you don't like the idea of them messing up the timeline, messing up all just a lot of the shit that they're doing now, I probably wouldn't. I am a massive fan of 7. I am, and I really love the original concept of it, and I don't like all these changes that they're pushing in our face. I don't. I was very, very, very skeptical about seeing characters that I have a massive passion for make an appearance in this game that shouldn't have been there in the first place. They shouldn't have been there. And with the whole love triangle between these characters as well, I was really, really, really hoping for like a happy type ending thing with 2 of those characters and 2 of those characters. I really, really wanted it to happen for them, and it's like a fucking episode of EastEnders. It's a clusterfuck. It truly, truly is. I saw a post on Twitter, and I hated seeing it, but I was scrolling through it. I saw a post on Twitter where all of these massive reviewing companies are praising and just throwing 10 out of 10, perfect game, 5-star, 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10. And it made me worried. It was like, am I a bad reviewer? Am I looking at the wrong things? Am I talking about the wrong things? Am I highlighting stuff that I shouldn't be highlighting? If you want my opinion, do I feel Rebirth is a 10 out of 10? No, I'm sorry, I don't feel that way. No, I really, 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 really don't. And I'm not talking about removing half points and stuff. I'm just talking about I'm talking about the product that they gave us and what damage that they've done to this game. You've changed too much. You've changed way too much. And you've introduced people into the game that were never there in the original. And I get that I get it's a remake, and I get that you can do whatever you fucking want with a remake. You can completely change the entire thing if you wanted to. I can understand that. But in doing so, you're ripping up the origin. You're ripping up the origin, and you're making me fucking worried about what you're doing to what was potentially a masterpiece. This isn't a 10 out of 10 game because of that. If you like all these changes, if you like absolutely everything that they've done, yes, I can see you saying this is a masterpiece, this is a 10 out of 10 game. I absolutely love what they've done to absolutely everything. That's fine. It's your opinion. That's absolutely golden. That's cool. Not for me, it's not. It's not. Your aggro system is absolute dog shit. Absolute dog shit. It still takes way too long to kill a lot of the enemies in the game. And I'm talking a couple, like 30 to 40 fucking swings for basic mobs, and that shouldn't be a thing. I love the old school turn-based, but we're never going to get that back ever again. Ever again with Final Fantasy. But the biggest killer is that you rip the story apart and you change too much. And you led me down a path of worry, a path of confusion. And a lot of the time it wasn't a hit or miss, it was just a blatant miss. And I have to take that into consideration. For me. And mainly for me. But you guys, do what you will with it all. There are some absolutely amazing things about this game. The graphics. Breathtaking. The soundtrack. Breathtaking. The summons. Oh, they're gorgeous. They absolutely are. The characters. The dialogue. The emotion. There is a lot of emotion in this game. A lot. But again, some of it becomes hit and miss because you change too much. There's a lot going for it still. There is a lot going for it still. But you're starting to lose me as a fan of Final Fantasy VII. You're not going to ever take away my feelings towards the original retro, because that is a masterpiece. 10 out of 10. Hands down. But when it comes to Final Fantasy Remake and Rebirth, you are slowly pushing me away and losing me. And I'm starting to lose a little bit of faith and interest, if I'm going to be honest. And with that in mind, oh, even the money system in this game is fucking pointless, because I don't spend any of it. I don't need to. Gil in a Final Fantasy game is pointless in this one for me. I'm just adding more things. I'm sorry. I am happy scoring Final Fantasy VII Rebirth an 8.5 out of 10. But that is heavily based on my input and my opinion only. That is it. Nothing more. Nothing more. This is not going to be anything like the original. This isn't. This really isn't. And if you want my honest opinion, if they instead stuck to the original script and just added a little bit here and there, added a few more mini games here and there, it would be better than what they've provided us now, in my opinion. But that's my opinion. Truly, that's my opinion. Final Fantasy Rebirth gets an 8.5 out of 10. And I am closing this review. I want to say a massive, fucking heartfelt, massive thank you to everyone that supported me through this review. There were a lot of streams that I did that I had no one watching, because I'm guessing that they didn't want spoilers, or I'm just guessing that they just gave up caring because it was too much of a grind fest and they just weren't interested in watching it anymore. So for everyone that was watching me, thank you. I appreciate you so fucking much. And a massive thank you to Crown. Because if it wasn't for Crown, I wouldn't have been able to afford doing this review in the first place. It's thanks to you, dude. So thank you so fucking much. I hope you enjoy this review. I do. I know it's a bit long. We're treading in the 40-minute mark. But thank you, Crown. Man, thank you so fucking much. If it weren't for you, this weren't possible. And to all you that have watched me over on Kick during the 107 hours of this crippling review, thank you. Stay blessed. Love you all. And I'll see you soon. Bye, guys.